Overheads. Overhead is the indirect portion of total cost and is the aggregate of indirect material costs, indirect labor costs, and indirect expenses. An expenditure over and above the prime cost is known as an overhead. Overheads are general in nature and are apportioned to or are absorbed by cost units or cost centers. An example of an overhead is a salesman's salary. Now we'll take a look at what are the classifications which exist for overheads. Overheads are classified and the basis is business functions because they may be incurred while in the performance of a business function. The main functional groups in business over which overheads are classified are production or production overhead, selling overhead, administration overhead, and distribution overhead. In addition, there may be fixed overhead and variable overhead. Fixed overhead, as it is shown here, is fixed in terms of amount despite variations in production. Variable overhead varies depending upon change in volume of materials or type of output. Departmentalization of overhead is also known as allocation and apportionment of overheads and refers to apportionment of overhead between production and service departments, and more, apportionment of all service overheads to the production department. This makes the apportionment process seamless in cost accounting. Next, we'll take a look at what are the cost classifications of overheads. So in this we cover holiday pay, after sales service cost, packaging expenses, royalty, bad debts, etc. So cost classification is the process of grouping costs according to acceptable and common characteristics, establishing a series of groups according to which costs are classified. The following items in a cost account is classified hence as holiday pay. That's the first item which we are going to say. Holiday pay to direct workers is given in the output produced by them by inflating the wage rate. For indirect workers, holiday pay is treated as an overhead. After sales service cost. This includes replacement of parts and repair to maintain the product in working condition and is treated as an overhead. Packaging expenses. Protection of product for convenience in handling. The cost of packaging along with transportation is part of distribution cost. If the cost of special packaging is at the request of the customer, it should be charged to the product. Otherwise, it is fancy packing and hence an advertisement expense treated as a selling overhead. Next is royalty. If part of a patent, it is part of the factory cost. If paid on units sold, it will be part of selling overhead. And lastly, bad debts. If within normal limit, it is charged to selling overhead. Otherwise, if it is exceptional and abnormal, it is written off to costing profit and loss account. So some of the arguments in favor of including interest on capital in cost accounts are the account will show real profit only if interest on capital is provided for. Some other argument is that if interest is not included in cost of production, managerial decision making will whisk or may affect decision making or may take wrong decisions. So that's so far for the arguments in favor of including interest on capital. So this brings us to the end of overheads, including cost classifications, and that pretty much covers direct labor, direct material, and overheads. Thank you.